Thank you very much. Very nice introduction. Thank you very much, Professor Datilas, for your wonderful exposition. I'm very happy to be here. It's going to be a long talk. I will take my time speaking about objectivity and visual function when it comes to a little bit higher.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm giving another talk on the history of the double pass technology on the 15th, on Wednesday. So I hope that you're still there. But so there are some things that I will have to leave out today where the technology comes from. But I will tell you where we come from as a company when it comes to looking at and separating the optical system from the rest of the visual system. I started very early in ophthalmology, and we started with Helon back in those days with Pharmacia. That was a revolutionary happening because it helped us to start doing intraocular lenses on I would say in an industrial fashion, making it so much safer. In the 80s and the 90s, we started to do refractive surgery, and we started with LASIK in Europe in '92. We taught a lot of people we were running courses together with Professor Güell in Barcelona, who then, as you might know, became the president of ESCRS, was there for many years, and we were very active. But there was something that annoyed us through this ride, and that was that we didn't have any objectivity when it came to measuring. So it was always going back to the Snellen chart 20/20, black on white from 20 feet. And we started working on finding something to substitute that early on, and we didn't find anything. We thought that we had found something when the aberrometers came to the market and were able to give us a reading, but we found out that it didn't really work because you had a very good accumulation of point spread function, the total point spread function of the eye, and the patient was still not happy. So we understood that we were not there yet. So this is basically what I'm going to talk to you about today, and I think I hope that I will have time enough. Is it this one?
You have to press the pointer. The arrows there.
I have to go here. Okay. So we have to assess the optical quality by direct recording of retinal images, and this is extremely important. We cannot calculate our way there. Double pass opticals correlates better with visual performance than wavefront sensor data, and I will go in depth to make you understand this a little bit better. So double pass images carry complete information from both aberrations and scattering. So aberrations, I consider in a very plain language, aberrations is a good solid light traveling to a bad destination. It doesn't really matter if it's the 103rd order of aberrations on a imaginary optical table. You can always bend it and get it back to where you want to. Scattered light, though, will travel forever in the wrong direction. This is our current measuring machine, and we also have it together with a company called AcuFocus, who just launched their camera inlay in the American market, and we help them with patient selection. You will understand why. So the most important thing is that when we obtain this point spread function, this truly measured point spread function on the retinal level, we can then, through the Fourier analysis, convert it into MTF. MTF hit the ophthalmic community 15 years ago with the aberrometers, but if we really want to know, because it had not really been in that space before, if we really want to know what it is, we have to talk to photographers. Photographers know everything about it, because that's the way they define how good a picture is. And we do not do anything differently than that. We want to know how good the raw material, the picture, sitting on the retina is, the whole picture. So what you get is, after doing this, you get an MTF value, and that is a frequency answer to quality of vision. And the smaller the point is, of course, the better the result. You can also have other quality parameters, like the Strail ratio of that, and then you will see, and I will show you what we did. You will see from a Hartmann-Shack, for instance, it won't pick up. We'll read some of the aberrations, of course, and be able to create a wavefront map, but it won't be able to read the higher order aberrations, but most importantly, it won't be able to read the scattering. So it will, if you look at this, and we're going to talk about this a little bit further, it will overestimate the quality of the eye. And that is what happened when we started to measure with aberrometers, and people were still not happy. They said that they were not happy with their vision, and we didn't understand. So let's go to, and this is, it's very nice to speak after your presentation, because we're talking about the visual function, all this precious work that has been done with the biology behind what is happening. We are measuring the visual function of that. So if we look at an early pre-cataract eye, and the anachrome here was, it's DLS now, not the DLS you're talking about, but another DLS which is very famous, it's becoming famous, and people try to call cataracts dysfunctional lens syndrome, and I'm sure that you have heard something about that. So this is one eye, and here you can see that this point spread function coming out of the Hartmann-Shack is very good, and this is the same point spread, same eye, and a completely different point spread function, because as I said, we are picking up the scattered light, which is really what is going to degrade the optical quality. So here I say this, the pre-cataract eye or the dysfunctional lens syndrome, not the more importantly DLS that you were talking about, because this is not really recognized yet in the community. So here you can see again what I referred to earlier. This is the Hartmann-Shack, and this is the real measurement, and you can see that it's much lower. So a correct evaluation of the optical quality of the eye is critical in any refractive procedure, and it's very important as well to know what are we dealing with in the first place. So any eye that comes into the clinic and they want to have this or that, and I'm talking mostly about elective surgery here, you really need to know how that eye is delivering the light on the retina. So optical quality of the eye is very important for quality of vision, and this talk is on quality of vision. So of course, we have a lot of other help. We're not substituting anything. We're just giving an objective view on the visual function. And I think it's the only instrument that can actually do that today. So, of course, we have all others. We have front and back corneal power, Scheimpflug, Pentacam oculus, Galilei, and we have other means. Now, what do we know when we see this? Well, we know that we have a nucleus in there. We know that it's probably a cataract, but then we also have to know how that affects the light, how it affects the retinal image. Then we can determine that it's really a cataract, and we can also play it out, and we can say that Well, there is nothing in here. It must come from the surface. And we'll look at that a little bit later. This is another source, of course, for glare or scatter. And this is what happens when you have a cataract. You get scatter in your eye, and your contrast sensitivity goes down. This is something that is happening with lenses, intraocular lenses, with some of them. They get glistening, and that can also produce scatter on the patient's retina. So quantifying scatter in cataract patients from double-pass images, well, this is the way we'll look at it. It's a double-pass retinal image. This one is from double-pass, and we have the ones from Hartmann-Shack, and you can see that we're picking it up, whereas the Hartmann-Shack will not. So what could we do to really make this a little bit more concrete? Well, the golden standard test for cataract grading today is the LOX3 test, as you all know. And we compared to that in a very nice study run by Pablo Artal, who is the inventor of this technology. What we did is that we could construe something called the objective scatter index, and it's and we found a lot of correlation, of course, but we got a lot of dispersion. We could see that the LOX3 was very, very all over the place, actually. So where you have, this is a control group, so it's very tight, and because here you don't have any opacification at all, virtually. And in class 2 of this LOX3, you get more dispersion. Now, as you go up to what we call cataracts, and those you have to start taking out, the dispersion is enormous. And of course, here we get a little bit further. This is because the LOX3, as good as it is, it's very subjective. I mean, I will go in no matter who has taught me something, and the next person looking at the same cataract will say, well, has been taught in a different way, or maybe that day doesn't really see that well. So it's going to be a lot of dispersion. So this is, for instance, this is examples on how different people classified a LOX, I think it's a level 3 of the LOX3 scale. So what we did, we could create this new classification, and as you see, you have a lot of dispersion, and we can capture it precisely with a number. And this number is the objective scatter index, and it's indexed from 0 to 10. So using double pass imagers and scatter parameters to test tear film quality, well, as we had the ability to do it, we started to run a test with Allergan 5 years ago, and instead of measuring one time, we measured over 20 seconds and saw how the visual function of the tear breakup time could have an impact on the visual result, and it was very encouraging. So here you have different levels of behavior, and we can also control the blink when we do this. So we ask the patient to sit up at the machine, and we ask them not to blink if we want to have that test made. We ask them to blink if we want to stress them. And every time we do that, we can actually see the behavior and the point spread function, how it changes while you have a tear breakup time. So you get a very, very interesting, you get actually 3 or 4 dimensions in here. You get the scatter index itself, so you can see if it's a dry eye or not. You can actually see what happens with people that are able to follow, but they disappear very quickly. So their blink rate is higher, but necessarily they don't come and see you because, you know, they're fine. And we don't know so much about the blink rate yet, so no one does. So so you have the normalized eye here, and we will see something very important as we go through. So if this is normal here, and this is this kind of ladder climbing upwards all the time, it's becoming extremely important for all the surgery we are doing. So why should we actually do anything on an eye that looks like this? And in our findings, we are actually showing that 50% of the population is responding to very stable tear film. The problem is that 50% of the population does not have a stable tear. So we are making a lot of mistakes when we operate on these people and draw conclusions out of it. Because maybe it's not the lens, maybe it's not that LASIK that was bad, maybe there was a precondition that should have made us think about treating it and getting it down to this level before we did anything on it. So this is how it looks like in real life. And this eye should be considered very good because it's very stable up to 11 seconds. And we actually registered the blink here, so we can tell when people blink, and then it goes up. So you can do this maybe 3 or 4 times on the patient in order to see how they really respond, because patients tend to not respond when you tell them you have to do this. We get nervous and we do whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But in order to find a behavior of their tear, finally, sooner or later, you will. And it's becoming very important. So here we have a dry eye already, and what you read from this dry eye is that you have a high baseline already, and but however, somewhat the tear is still efficient enough to get it down to the baseline every time they blink. This is not; it doesn't happen every time. So think about when you have people sitting in the waiting room and say, and you have already considered that they have dry eye, you actually need to know with all the other markers. As I said, we are additive technology, but you have a lot of other markers. You have the Schirmer test. You have a lot of other markers that will indicate that they have dry eye. Now it becomes so much more important if their visual function is still not effective, because that means that they have a sane cornea still. And those should be prioritized in the treatment. So this is another one where you see how efficient this tear is. It abandons the patient in 10 seconds, and that would be good for a T-butt. Is it good for surgery? We don't know yet, but the patient blinks, and bam, it hits the very safe baseline again. And this is the worst pattern you can have, because this is good here, climbs up, blinks, climbs up, blinks, climbs up, but in intervals of 3 seconds. So we found out that if you're not here, it's going to be difficult to make the decision to go ahead with surgery, and that is happening today in a multicentrical study that we're doing. And the findings are quite nice, because if you think about it, if you have this stable, we have determined that if stable in, it means stable out on all these surgeries. It means stable out on the LASIK, for instance. So if the tear film is very stable, one day post-op it will be stable. The brain will understand that aggression is not that important. Now, if there is a little bit of a condition here with the tear film that cannot be picked up in any other way than looking at it on the visual function side, is not going to equal out. It's going to be at least the same. It can be the same, but it will most definitely be worse. And that is when patients are not happy with what happened. So, and then you have this ladder pattern with this, which is not good. So we classify these, and what we saw is that actually 50% of the population, they are up there in a very good shape, and can be addressed easily. Okay, this with Windows doesn't work apparently, but this was very nice because it was running down. So okay, so you have all these conditions. This is from Saldivar in Argentina. So you have to understand that with premium surgery, what is called premium surgery, a little bit obnoxious, I think. We have to have premium eyes. It requires premium eyes. And I think that everybody make a mistake here, because a multifocal lens, for instance, is not premium for everybody. You have to have the precondition to actually be able to accept it. So it can be the worst surgery, and definitely the most expensive one. So it can be the worst surgery for many, many people. So you will have to have premium eyes, and with saying that, you have to have premium tear film. It's extremely important to have premium tear film. Then we get premium care, and I'm very much talking about the first world here, of course. Professor Datiles spoke about all the cataracts that, you know, if we can make this better, we will probably have a lot more energy, time, and resources to do a lot more for the people who really need it, the blind people in the world, by cataracts. So this is how we did the index. We go from 0 to 2, which we considered normal. Then from 2 to 4, we start consider intervention, and this is a cataract. You don't need them. You probably don't need the machine here, because here everything will be even the slit lamp will tell you that there is a cataract. And this is very important, because we are talking about capturing the forward scatter of this, and forward scatter and back scatter are different concepts. So the back scatter is what we traditionally get when we look into an eye, right? So it bounces back to our retina, basically, but we still don't know what is happening on the patient's retina. So what we do, we pick up that forward scatter, which is actually what lands on the patient's retina. So yes, it's a numerical value that quantifies the degree of intraocular scattering, evaluation of amount of light in the periphery of the double pass image in relation to the amount of light of the center of it. That's the way we calculate it. And you get different values, and then you get a predicted visual acuity as we do an image convolution. And this is one of the new things that we have put in our softwares, because sometimes it's very important to explain to relatives, to other people, what is actually going on, and what is happening to the images that are being delivered to the retina. And they tend to understand it very well. So here we have a cataract. This is important. Not all 20/20s are equal. You can also use it for PCO. Okay, so I will explain very shortly what point spread function is all about. Why is it so important to be able to measure one punctual light source on the on the retina? The sharper the image, the higher the resolution in this case, and diffraction, aberration, and scattering affect optical quality. Aberration and scattering have a direct impact on vision. So what I'm basically saying is that the eye is nothing but a camera. Is it a Kodak? Is it a Hasselblad? What are we talking about? And so if we do the same as we would do with a camera, let's say we pick this point here, and this is a point spread function, and think about it as a TV set. There are a lot of pixels, and all these pixels will go to the retina and will form the image. If there is an astigmatic condition in the eye, this is how it will look like, et cetera, et cetera. So with only one point, we can actually understand what is happening on the retina. Now, of course, when you get scattering in there, it's very important to be able to measure the scattering, because this up to here, this could be very well done with the Hartmann shack. Any aberrometer can do that. This they could not, because they wouldn't see the scattered light, because they measure up here, and it was never made to actually look at this. So it's measuring distances and not quality. So it's measured, of course, on the pupil, from the pupil level and forward up, and we are measuring directly on the retina. And we're not anti-aberrometers. We make beautiful aberrometers as well. So one thing needs to be understood in that right perspective. So, and again, we measure directly here. So what is going to happen is that the image actually looks like this, and the aberrometer will overestimate and still say that it's very good, that the image is very good, when it actually looks like this. And here I'm saying the same thing. And this is the modulation transfer function. So it's a function that describes the frequency response of the eye. And you have to think that this is the objective contrast sensitivity test. And we recognized early on in ophthalmology, 20 years back, we said that, oh yeah, I would like to be able to make a contrast sensitivity test on all my patients, because it's what really going to tell me how they see. But we don't have time to do that. So, and there are 200 different subjective tests out there. So now we have an automatic test, and we can do it in 2 minutes, and it's objective. So here we are again. So yes. Aberrometers will see the peaks, but not what is going under, but not what's going on under the peaks, because they will only bring out the intensity of this very, very sharp light. So this brings us back to 20/20 vision is okay, but what kind of 20/20 are we actually looking at? This was also a question that we put to ourselves years ago, and didn't have the answer to it. But we all stopped believing in 20/20. So we can actually have all these 20/20 visions. Of course, this looks a little bit worse now because it's sitting on the screen. But when we do the convolution, we have an objective scatter index of 0.7, we have an objective scatter index of 1.5, and one of 2.3. But all these patients were able to articulate 20/20 on the chart. So what did we really know about them before we had the possibility to have a machine like this? So this is this is what I've said before. OSIs of perfect eye, beginning of a cataract, perhaps a cataract, and this is very mature now. And it works. We have to do this in their best focus. So we bring the machine will bring patients into their best focus and measure it there. So and of course, the ideal would be to put a camera on the retina, and we would definitely see what's coming in, right? We cannot do that. So that's why we invented the double pass principle, which is going to send in the light, and it's going to hit the retina, and we will take it out. We will measure it as it goes out. So this is the focus. These are all point spread functions, and we scan, and here the machine will find the best focus, and it goes beyond, et cetera, et cetera. So we're scanning, and it will automatically put the best focus of the patient, and it's there where we are going to measure. So we have the scatter meter, the total optical quality, and we also have the ability to measure accommodation in the machine. And we have what I call the over-course descriptions of what we're doing. It's not very difficult, but this is the point spread function in its different representations. So we also measure the pupil, and of course we get a refraction on the patient. And as I said before, we have the ability to see the printout like this, and we can show this to the patient and show them what there is exactly. This is this we use to this is a different software that we use to centrate and find the inlays of AcuFocus, the camera inlays. This has got nothing to do with our core technology. But at AcuFocus, what they use is they use the whole set of core technology that we have, especially the wavefront. Is that 5 minutes? Thank you. Means that that's the patient selection that they do. But of course, also when we measure the first Purkinje image, we can see where the visual axis is, and then we can prove after surgery where it actually ended up. So as I said, we have all these different representations of this is a normal, very normal way of showing a point spread function with a very good result in this case. And then we compare it with the MTF curve, once converted into NPF. And we can also have that value put up. And as you see, this will degrade, the image will degrade as we go up on the scale. This might still be a good image. So and this is how we measure the accommodation. It's actually depth of focus what we measure. We can also measure accommodation when we put a periscope on top of the machine, so we get the real distance vision. But this is looking into the machine. We can measure how well people are doing with depth of focus. And this is, of course, very easy to do with the stromal inlays. So here we have different LASIK pre and LASIK post. This is a very good outcome. This is LASIK pre and LASIK post with a little bit of worse outcome. But today I can say that LASIK is it's much better than when we started with this technology, but because one of the applications was actually to try to understand which laser was the best laser. Now all the lasers are very, very similar, and the results are coming out very well. So you have all of these different proposals on what is normal and what is not normal. This is a very normal eye. And the peace of mind that creates with you is very important, because it's you will see that, well, whatever this patient is saying, I now know that the optical system is working very, very well. So this is perfect. And that's, as you may know, other people have done very nice things in Barcelona. We're trying to keep up that. Thank you very much for your attention.